Hi, I'm Andrew Gothelf with the AppExchange marketing team. Welcome to App Talks. App Talks is a series of conversations with Salesforce customers about how apps from the AppExchange help improve business outcomes. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Ken Eastman, Director of Business Technology at Core Health and Fitness. We're here to talk about how Core Health and Fitness is using Expedite Commerce CPQ. Ken, welcome to App Talks. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Andrew.
So to start, people may not have heard of Core Health and Fitness, but they've probably heard of some of the brands under your portfolio. Can you tell us a little bit about the company?
You bet. So Core Health and Fitness is a company headquartered in Vancouver, Washington. We do business all over the globe. We have offices international as well. And while, to your point, a lot of folks haven't heard of Core Health and Fitness, but they've heard of our brands. The brands we have are StarTrack treadmills, sort of an iconic brand that really started the category. And everyone loves to hate Stairmaster because it just kills them at the gym. Stairmaster is one of our brands. Schwinn Indoor Cycling is, or stationary bikes, is one of our brands, as well as Nautilus Strength Equipment. And everyone's heard of Nautilus for going back to the 70s.
So, Director of Business Technology, what exactly does that mean at Core Health and Fitness?
My responsibility is for technology in the company, infrastructure as well as applications. And we, by and large, the applications that we have are enterprise applications that we have are an engineering system called SolidWorks, Oracle, ERP, and Salesforce, and then the integration between those two systems.
It sounds like you're the right person to talk to about this conversation. So let's start, before we get to the Expedite Commerce solution, let's go back and sort of talk about the way things were in the past in terms of your technology. What was your stack like, and what problems maybe was it causing?
Sure. Well, so the way our company was really formed, the way we got to where we are right now, was it started with Stairmaster and Schwinn, which is a small organization. The organization used QuickBooks to run as a quote unquote ERP, and then Microsoft Dynamics and Excel spreadsheets, and just on in terms of how they managed the data. That organization ended up purchasing a much larger organization called StarTrack Treadmills. And StarTrack had just prior to our acquisition of them, had purchased and stood up Oracle. So it was an incomplete implementation. They used Oracle and a CRM called Pivotal. So their data was in those applications. And then fast forward another couple of years, and then we purchased the assets of a company back in Independence, Virginia, and that came with the brand Nautilus Commercial for strength equipment. But of course, they had their data and processes and technology in other systems. So really, what we ended up with was, you sort of throw everything into a heap, and you've got a lot of teasing out to do, and that's really what's consumed us. When I say us, I mean really as an IT organization. That's certainly been true. But that's impacted everybody in the business. There's been nobody, untouched by the consolidation of those business processes and technologies and data.
Yeah, it sounds kind of Frankensteinian to mix all of those together. What was it like to work at Core Health and Fitness with all of those systems?
Well, there was a lot of tribal knowledge. So somebody would come into the organization, really didn't matter what part of the organization, supply chain someplace, or in IT someplace, or in customer service. It didn't really matter where you were. You had to deal with these disparate systems, data that was structured in different ways that meant different things in different systems. It was definitely a kludgy thing, and we'll talk about it. But when you come to a CPQ system, feeding it that kind of kludgy data, it's garbage in, garbage out. So we had a lot of work to do in preparation to get to a point where we were ready to make sort of the next moves with regard to our technology and the things that touch our employees, the things that touch our customers.
For a new employee just starting out, what was that process like to try and actually get up to speed on all that?
Well, where you saw it the most was in customer service. A customer calls, and what product are they? They've got a serial number, because the serial number is what carries the entitlement or the warranty. So they've got a serial number. Okay, well, is it a Nautilus serial number? Is it a Star Trek? What brand is it? And so as a customer service employee, you really were in the crosshairs, because this is where you've got a customer on the phone, somebody who wants you to help them solve a problem that they have. And you've got to use all this kludged data, and you have to find your way through it to get to the right answer. And the value of that for the customer is that there's a human being that stood between them and our mess that we had behind the curtain. And so that it would take about 6 months for a customer service agent to come up to speed with all the systems and processes, and where do you go to look for this, that, or the other. And but once they were, now they're a great intermediary between that customer and what we've got on the back end.
So the customer had a slightly better experience than some of the internal employees and stakeholders, but were they in some way impacted by the way that your systems were set up?
Well, they were, because while the human could take out a lot of the pain, couldn't take out all of the pain. And really probably an even more, detrimental issue for them, or concerning issue as it relates to our customers and partners. In fact, let me just say that we do have customers who buy directly from us. They're gyms. Ken's Gym, for example, would be one. But we have the major players. All the major players that you would think of if you go to a gym, and that on a global scale. So we've got our equipment installed in gyms across the world, in virtually every continent. I think in every country.
It's like
hotels and gyms and universities and hospitals. So those are our customers, and we also sell through partners, so dealers who end up selling to the end customer. And if you were any of those people and you needed a part, you had a treadmill that wasn't working properly, you wanted to diagnose it first, and then you wanted to get a part to solve the problem, what you had to do was you had to call us. You had to pick up a phone and you had to call us. In 2017, you had to pick up a phone and call us. When everything else you do, you go to your computer and you're able to do a transaction on the computer. So that our customers' experience was that they didn't have a mechanism outside of calling one of our 2 call centers, one in the U.S. West Coast, one in the UK, and call us during business hours. And so it was a challenge for our customers and our dealers to be able to solve the problems that they were trying to solve.
So suffice to say that things needed to change, and you needed to improve this technology system. When did you decide that was actually how you needed to proceed, and what was the process like for going forward and selecting a CPQ vendor?
Well, I would start first that this wasn't a technology project. This was really a business project that technology was supporting. And so we were really arm in arm the entire way. There were certain folks on the business side that were as passionate as I was about needing to do something material in this space. This was not scalable. We couldn't grow as a company with what we had. So this was truly a business technology together kind of effort. So like most companies that are going to go and make a substantial investment, if not only financially, but just in terms of the level of effort it takes to do such a thing as implement a CPQ system, you're going to go through appropriate due diligence, figure out what's the right technology. You're looking for features and capabilities. You're looking for systems that can accommodate your business processes, that are configurable, that you don't have to customize or do as little customization as possible. At least that's my philosophy. And so, we looked at all the usual suspects that anyone who's looking for a CPQ engine would be looking for. And what we found is that Expedite Commerce had the capabilities that they could do all the same stuff. Some of the stuff we thought that they did better. And we knew that as an organization, Expedite could be more nimble than could some of the other larger systems. And what we saw was that it could accommodate all of the requirements that we had, and do it in such a way that we felt was, would work with our organization.
And the feature set was obviously important, but beyond that, what was sort of that intangible thing that made Expedite Commerce right for core health and fitness?
So an organization that's going to be looking for to implement a CPQ system is probably going to engage a systems integrator or an SI. And in my experience, sometimes an SI is there to do a particular job. It's got to start, it's got to finish, and you can always see that finish line getting closer and closer and closer. And are we ready? And there's just I think a different level of engagement. When Expedite Commerce came to the table, not only did they bring a product that we felt met all of our needs, but when they came to the table, they came as a business partner. And that was probably what really differentiated them so much, because we knew that they were engaged for our success. And they had the keys to the kingdom, right? They could do what they needed to do with the Expedite Commerce system in terms of configuration and all that. So when they engaged, they got under the covers, all the way. They understood our business processes. They knew our people. They knew which people made what sorts of decisions and had influence on what sorts of capabilities. So when they engaged, they really understood our business as well as anybody in our organization understood our business.
It's incredible praise to levy at a technology company to say that they were really able to understand your business in a way that people at your own company, may not have.
It's the very reason I was anxious actually to come and talk about Expedite Commerce, because I really believe that they made the difference.
So let's talk a little bit about the nitty-gritty and the details of implementation, as well as sort of what features and how this is all impacting your business. To start, once you selected Expedite Commerce, what was the process like from there? How did you get the ball rolling with the project?
So to start, Expedite Commerce came on site with their team, and we brought all the right people from our organization, which was a pretty broad set. And in fact, including some of the execs, we were going to make a material investment. It was going to change the experience of our employees as well as our customers and our partners. It was central to the business. There was nothing, bigger that we were going to do. So they had an interest in this, and so we brought people in the room and we started the discussion about, led by Expedite Commerce. We started the discussion around data and our business processes, the as-is environment. And we were walked through that. And in the course of that, you knew that you were coming up on something that was, okay, this is going to be a difference maker. I don't know quite why yet. Expedite Commerce was walking us through that process. They understood where they were going from here, but they wouldn't let us go beyond that until we had it addressed to a sufficient degree that they knew kind of where it was going to lay out to be. So we started down that process, started that process, and we found that through the course of it, we had elaborated our business processes and enough of our data that we understood what are the things that we're going to have to do as it relates to our data, what are the things we're going to have to do as it relates to changing certain business processes.
And this wasn't a project that you wanted to take 4 years to implement, right? I mean, you talked a little bit about how time to implement was really an important deciding factor in choosing Expedite Commerce. What was that like in terms of the timeline to implement?
Like a lot of projects of this size and magnitude and impact for an organization, we took a long time to get to the decision. But once we came to the decision, which was really at the start of February of 2017, by the time we were done, it was less than 6 months. Wow. And we had product that we could present not only to our internal customers, but meaning our employees, the customer service department, as well as present to our end customers and our partners. And really, what I'll say is that the duration was not a function of what Expedite Commerce could deliver. It was really more around our data and just recognizing the further we got down the path, where we needed to make adjustments in our own data. And that really has been the longest pole in the tent.
What was the strategy that you used to actually roll out the Expedite Commerce system to your employees?
Well, so, originally when we got started, at the beginning of the project, we said, okay, come this date, Big Bang happens, right? We're going to go live on this date. We'll go live on this date internally, and then on this date, we're going to go live with all of our customers and partners. That's where we started. And as we went down the path a bit further, we got into user acceptance testing, or UAT. And when we did that, there were a couple of the customer service agents that were well-seasoned customer service agents, and they understood, they had helped through UAT, and they knew how the system worked. So what we concluded was, in our particular situation, it worked for customer service agents to continue using the old process, while these two gentlemen started using the new process with Expedite Commerce. What that let us do was to refine the processes and understand where we needed to make some changes. So we made those changes, and then fast forward a couple of weeks, and we brought a few more on. And so now we had about half the team using it, and so on. And we did that until the entire team was using it. Once the entire team was using it and gaining, fantastic efficiencies, no longer did the cubes need to be littered with the yellow Post-its. Those Post-its are coming down day by day. More and more of those Post-its will come down as they gain more comfort with using the new system. But then we use the same sort of methodology for our customers. Rather than going big bang, and what we've learned from this, it's not only for this project, but for other projects, we've learned from this that, big bang can create some challenges. To the extent that you can roll it out a little at a time, gain some learning and adjust, and then when you finally do get to your entire population, you've got something that everyone's going, wow, this is really, really cool.
So I'd love to hear a little bit about the impact that Expedite Commerce CPQ has had on your business, both from a sort of big picture, qualitative standpoint, as well as any metrics or data that you could share.
Well, the efficiencies have been fantastic. Now that we do have it rolled out to our customers and our partners, we're getting 3,000 to 4,000 orders per month that are taking place through an Amazon-esque experience that our customers and our partners love. We still have some improvements that we're looking at to do in that space, but it's having a material impact. They love it because this is the way business today is done, and they finally don't have to pick up a phone and call us to order a part. So 3,000 to 4,000, but then you can imagine by extension that's 3,000 to 4,000 orders that are not being entered by a customer service agent. So that, from a customer's perspective, it's better. From an internal perspective, well, it's better. And then for those customers who do prefer to continue to call us, our customer service agents now have a way that they don't have to hunt, for that specific yellow sticky that's on their cube, in their cube someplace. The system does it for them, right? If the part the customer needs that they think they need is an ABC, but it's been superseded by an improved part, an XYZ, the system knows that. The system knows who the customer is and what their discount level is and what their entitlements are. And so it's from an internal perspective, there's a lot of the tribal knowledge stuff that we've been able to sort of to discard. What that means is that to bring on a new customer service agent, rather than it taking them 6 months to come up to speed, they can be up to speed in 3 or 4 weeks.
It's incredible. That's a huge, huge difference
Yeah.
from an internal and external standpoint. So big picture going forward, I understand this was sort of a phased rollout in the early phases, even though the numbers just are incredible to hear even at this point. What does it look like, big picture, once you've finished sort of the next stages of this implementation?
The next stages will let customers go online and identify their equipment. Let's say a Schwinn indoor bike. If they want to have, their colors are the great Salesforce colors. If they want to have a blue bike with a particular color blue, not just any blue, not just off of our palette, but they want their specific colors and they want their logo to be in this place on the bike. They want the seat a different color, various things like that. Well, as you can imagine, when you're warranting that product for, let's say, 10 years, 9 years from now, that customer has a challenge and they need to replace a part. Well, we need to know that that serial number had certain characteristics. And what color blue was that painted? So that when the customer orders that part online, they're going to get a part that has the right color on it. So sort of stamping that serial number with what, the specifics about that, the CPQ specifics about that product, and understanding that so that you can support that product for 10 years to come becomes a big deal. And so what we see is getting to that point where the customer can not only configure their stuff the exact way they want, but we know that we can then support that for the coming 10 years.
It sounds like a big vision and one that'll be really beneficial to the customer.
Yeah.
Just sort of wrapping up, in terms of your feelings toward Expedite Commerce, I mean, obviously the features were really important in this process and they've done great things for the business, but as a partner, what has the relationship with Expedite Commerce really meant to you and your company?
That's a question that I'm glad to answer. I feel very confident that Expedite Commerce is, they're an organization that isn't just about selling licenses. They're interested in the success of our business, and that's an easy thing to say. And I know that there's a lot of companies out there that would say the same thing, but then there's action behind behind the words. And the actions that we've seen in my experience, and again, the reason I'd be willing to come down and have a conversation about Expedite is because our experience has been second to none. In terms of the vendor list that I would identify, and I know a lot of people have their favorite vendors, but the list that I would identify, I'd have several. We've got the good fortune of having 4 or 5 or 6 really strong vendors, but none of them are as close to the vest, not just for IT, but for our organization, as Expedite Commerce has been.
So one of the ways we like to wrap up on App Talks is with some peer-to-peer advice. What would you tell somebody, maybe at a big company that's got outdated or disparate systems? How would you advise them to go about getting themselves to the point where you are with their technology?
So, this will sound maybe a little bit canned, but start with the end in mind. Know where you're going. A lot of folks will have been down that path. A lot of my peers in various organizations think more like that. Where are we going? And then, let's map the path to get there. But the one thing that I would say that I would offer advice to someone who were getting started down this path is that it is never too early to start looking at your data. I think it's never too early to invest in bringing someone in to help you understand, okay, now tell me where you're going, all right? That means that, that's going to impact this data. Let's start looking at that data. That has been the biggest challenge that we've had to overcome. Not a systems, not a capabilities thing. It's about our data and what data, particularly when you're coming from the disparate companies that I had talked about. Serial numbers were constructed in a certain way in that organization, different from this organization. So that means we can't use it unless we make changes to the data. We can't use it in the same way. The system has to be smart enough to know, where's that serial number coming from. So I would say start with your data. It's never too early.
Yeah, it's a great story. I've really enjoyed this. Enjoyed talking to you. Thanks so much for coming down and telling your story here.
You bet. Thanks, Andrew.
And thank you for joining us on another episode of App Talks.